Hello and welcome to the number one championship podcast. The second tier, I'm Ryan Dilks, and big results at the top and bottom of the division this past weekend. As always, here to dissect it with me, I'm joined by the Jordan Ayew to my Andre Ayew. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Oh, Justin, it feels like, every single weekend at the moment is a significant one in the division, but at this stage, I have no idea where this is going because the results are just so unpredictable at the top and bottom of the table.
Yeah, well, even the playoff race is a little bit here and there. Let's say Derby win tomorrow night against Portsmouth, and you're thinking, "Oh Christ, are they going up there as well?" But yeah, this has been a wonderfully unpredictable season because the parachute payment teams are failing. They're failing in doing what they should be doing, and that's opened it up. And whilst that's a fantastic thing for the competitiveness of the division, my goodness, does it make our job hard?
Yeah, it does also make it sort of miserable for a fair few teams in the middle of the division who don't seem to have much to fight for now for the final 8 games of the season. But there's still lots to enjoy across the league, isn't there? So let's get through it and try and eat it all up as we can. But if you are watching us live on this Sunday evening, then thank you very much for joining us and get involved in the conversation. We'll be reading out your comments and questions as we run through the weekend's action. And if you're here with us right now or watching afterwards, please remember to like this video and subscribe. It's the best way to help support us and the work we do. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this episode, please take a moment to give us a 5-star review on whichever platform you are listening to us on. But let's kick things off, Justin, with Coventry City, who suffered their first defeat in 8 after losing 2-1 at home to Southampton. 3-word reviews for Southampton. Andy says, big statement win. Brian says, stole the points. Toby says, buy Peretz now. Harry says, Coventry tears everywhere. This was just the second time Coventry have lost at the CBS Arena this season. So what a result for Tondra Eckert and Southampton.
And it wasn't a fluke either. I thought Southampton were brilliant. I thought the game management was fantastic. And I know Coventry had a fair few chances and more on that in a moment. But the way Tondra Eckert got the tactical element of this game, I think it was spot on. He went to a 4-1-4-1, got that extra man in midfield, and it worked perfectly. The loose balls were picked up and they were able to set off on their counter-attacks fairly regularly. So yeah, this was a massive result for Eckert, and we talk about it being the second defeat for Coventry at the CBS. You've got to be tactically spot on to do it, and Tondra Eckert was, and Southampton were great here.
Yeah, they were. I think we've got to say first and foremost, this was such a great game. 2 very good sides in great form. Both had plenty of chances, and Coventry came the closest in the first half. Luke Wolfenden had a great chance, as did Haji Wright, but the closest they came was from a Liam Kitching header, which produced such an astonishing save from Daniel Peretz in the Southampton goal, Justin. How has he kept that out?
Yeah, it was an unreal save. It's quite funny because he had a shaky start at Southampton, didn't he? Where we all thought, God, this is another bad Southampton keeper. But he slowly found his feet, and his form's been really important for Southampton. But this save is brilliant. Obviously, Liam Kitchen gets a really good contact on the ball, and you just think it's going in. But yeah, he manages to get his palm to it. It's an outstanding save, and I wouldn't say it was decisive in the game, but I think if Coventry do score that, momentum can swing quite heavily in a championship game, and this might have been one of those moments. That was a big old save.
That does sound pretty decisive when you explain it like that. But yeah, I've watched the save a fair few times now, and it genuinely gets better every time you see it, mainly because he's going the other way. So to shift your body weight like that as quickly as he does is remarkable. And to reiterate the point you were just making, I wasn't sure about him when he first came in because he looked very shaky, but he's got a lot better recently. So fair play to him. And then at the start of the second half, Southampton took the lead through Flynn Downs. He's had his health problems, which he opened up about earlier in the season, but that was a great moment for him getting on the score sheet here. And I think that goal left Coventry a bit shell-shocked because for large parts of the second half, didn't do an awful lot. They didn't actually have a shot between the 62nd and 87th minute. And then Southampton scored again late on. Then Coventry managed to pull a goal back through a penalty in the 92nd minute. And then, carnage from that point on. Coventry throwing everything at Southampton. And the goal mouth scramble at the end was top class, Justin.
It's like when you were playing on the playground stuff, when we're kids, by the way, not as adults.
Your Saturday night's exposed.
Less said. It's like, when it's literally the last kick before the bell goes, and it's just chaos. And it's a brilliant way to summarise. But again, that's just how things are. And obviously, Coventry just left it too late, getting that penalty quite late, and then having to rely on a bit of a scramble at the end. But yeah, I want to see more goalmouth scrambles. I don't think you see them in the Premier League at all, and you do rarely see them in the Championship. We should have more of them. I don't know how we implement it, but we need to.
They are one of the most thrilling things in football, aren't they? Because you just never know what's going to happen next. And this was a perfect example of that. But it became pretty obvious after Coventry didn't score from that it wasn't going to be Coventry's day. But it definitely was Southampton's. And what a massive scalp for Tondereckert. It sees their unbeaten run stretched to 12 games in League and Cup. Those Saints are marching in, Justin, into the playoffs.
They are. They're not stopping. I mean, since Tondereckert took over, they've been incredibly efficient. They had a bit of a bumpy spell in and around Christmas, and they've had their moments where they've looked average. But to be honest, under him, every single department has improved. It really, really has. There was obviously this really annoying reliance on a back three with Will Still, and it was just rinse and repeat. Same mistakes over and over again. Since Eckert's come in, he's had to do it slowly, but he's got a way of working that seems to be getting the most out of these players. And as I say, since he took over, they've scored the most goals in the league. They've stopped conceding really stupid goals under him as well. I say it was rinse and repeat under Will Still. They were conceding the same type of goal over and over again, where teams just cut through the middle of the park, and that seems to be I think that's not the case under Eckert. So there are so many positives to talk about Southampton and Tondereckert. Only Coventry have won more games than them. They've gone from 21st to 7th under him. Can they get to 6th? Ooh.
Yeah, well, they're only 2 games away from equaling the longest unbeaten record in the Championship this season, which just goes to show how good this run is. And while it probably is worth mentioning, they have faced 5 of the bottom 7 during this run and drew to West Brom in midweek. They've now beaten Coventry and Fulham, so you can't throw too much shade their way. And it just continues the remarkable turnaround under Tondereckert, who, lest we forget, took over when Southampton were 21st. And since then, kind of echoing what you were saying, only Coventry and Ipswich have won more points than Southampton, and that is why they are hurtling towards the playoffs. But yeah, it is strange that there was, in and amidst this rise up the table, there was a period where it looked like Tondereckert might get sacked when he went 7 league games without a win around Christmas. So if they didn't have that sticky patch, then where could they have been? Automatics might not have been out of the question. I don't think that's outrageous to say. But right now, you'd have to say, based off their form for a prolonged period of time and definitely more recently, it's hard to see them not being in the top 6 come May, isn't it, Justin?
You know what, Ryan? I did some actual research here, and I looked at points per game. Eckert and Southampton are averaging 1.88, Wrexham 1.79, and Hull 1.61. Come the end of the season with the games we've got left, that puts Southampton on 74 points, Wrexham on 76, and Hull on 75. Now, I know the Championship doesn't work that way. Of course, it throws more curveballs and uncertainties than basic maths, even for me. But when we take the objectiveness out of it, I would say Southampton do have that mental edge. You talk about that unbeaten run that they're on. They're looking way more consistent and sound than both Wrexham and Hull are. But that being said, there's very little room for error. And I think if any team's going to drop out of that top 6, it could be Hull. And Southampton are in the driving seat to take over.
Yeah. I think if I was Hull City, I'd be shitting my pants right now, because they've been in the top 6 pretty much all season, haven't they? But you've got Southampton and Wrexham, who are flying and really not far behind at this stage. I mean, Southampton have one of the strongest squads in the division anyway, lest we forget. So it shouldn't really be that much of a surprise if they do nick a playoff place. But I suppose from a Hull perspective, it is worth mentioning Southampton and Wrexham are playing each other soon. But whatever the case, they're both going very well. And another thing to mention is, whoever misses out on promotion, they won't want to be playing Southampton in the playoffs, because they are a team to be feared, aren't they? They're actually playing in midweek. We've got a couple of games coming up in midweek. Southampton are facing Norwich. So 2 informed sides going at it right there. That is going to be very, very juicy. Let's talk Coventry, Justin. As I say, their first defeat in 8. not a huge amount of damage done to the promotion bid, with Middlesbrough and Millwall dropping points. Got a comment here from Dylan Boot, who says, I don't think Coventry played bad, but we just did not take our chances, and Southampton were clinical. And that's probably a fair assessment, Justin. But games like this show they've still got work to do to get promotion over the line, haven't they?
They do. I mean, we do have to remember that they just come off the back of a club record equaling 6 wins in a row. So it would have been nice for them to not lose this game against a really good side. But this game was quite tight. You've got Daniel Peretz pulling off a worldy save, for example. Then you bring in a couple of decent Coventry moments that they had under with Sakamoto and Wolfenden with a couple of headers. But I think the big thing is being clinical in both boxes, and Coventry weren't. They weren't clinical in Southampton's box, and they fell asleep defensively twice. The first one, no one reacts. I don't know why, but Flynn Downs runs from the edge of the area to get on the end of the... Because Carl Rushworth pulls off a really good save that we've not mentioned. He tips it onto the post, and no one reacts. No Coventry player reacts. Flynn Downs just gets a free tap in.
It was quite fortunate the way it fell to him, in fairness to Cov.
It was, but as a defender, you've got to react and then or make the run harder for Flynn Downs. At the end of the day, it's who wants it more, and Flynn Downs was alive to it. And then Liam Kitching, the man falls asleep for the Matsuki goal. He proper nods off. He doesn't do anything. Just stands there, and he looks frustrated in himself. So there are a couple of moments there that Coventry just dropped the ball on, and it was a tight game, and that's where it was won. So I'm not losing my head with Coventry. It's just one of those days where they weren't quite at it. Southampton were, and they were beaten.
Yeah, I think, if anything, you might be being a bit harsh to Coventry there, because I don't think I'd be too worried after this if I was a Coventry fan, because, first of all, Southampton are a good team. Could make a fair argument that their squad's actually stronger than Coventry's, despite their positions in the table. But on another day, Coventry probably would have got something from this. The only concern I would have is whether this setback manifests itself into something bigger and Cov start shitting themselves again. But I would be very surprised if that did happen, especially because they don't have the toughest set of fixtures remaining, and they've still got a 7-point gap at the top. 8 games to go. That is a big gap, and all 3 of the sides below them still have to play each other. So it would still take something remarkable for Coventry to mess this up from here. So I wouldn't fret if I was a Coventry fan based off this. And as we say, it's their first loss after a brilliant bit of form. So, yeah, it's not a great result, but it's not the end of the world by any means, is it? But let's stick with the promotion race, Justin. And a 96th minute equaliser from Adam Randall saw Middlesbrough miss out on a big win at home to Bristol City. 1-1 it finished at the Riverside. 3-word reviews for Bristol City. The Robin's Nest says Adam Randall bosh. Zane says Adam Randall's header. Farmer Wilkins says Adam effing Randall. MJC on our Patreon says Peachy Bank occurs. For Borough, Drew says too many sitters. Boroughmania says always miss sitters. Steptoe says couldn't finish dinner. Adam says home form concerning. Did you pick
I don't
Middlesbrough?
think I did.
No, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
What's MJC going on
I'm
about
catching
there?
strays just because my record's shit. This is absolute nonsense.
You're guilty by association, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, incredible scenes at the end of this game, Justin. And what a header by Randall as well.
Oh my God. I nearly kicked off online. I didn't. I refrained. But someone said, I don't know what's special about the Adam Randall header. Oh my God, there's everything special about the Adam Randall header. It comes from absolutely nowhere, gets so much airtime, and the power on it was unreal. The art of heading the ball is back, and Adam Randall's the artist. It was brilliant. And then the scenes were just fantastic. The celebrations were pure carnage. It's exactly how you celebrate a smash and grab draw. I'm sorry, Bristol City, a completely undeserved draw. But you got yourself back into it. Radek Vitek's up there as well. Oh, it was beautiful. Absolutely.
He basically got the assist for that because he was doing the blocking, run.
I think it was Morris, wasn't it? He was basically bear hugging him for it. It was a definite foul. It was a definite foul, but you are right. He does a good job of, I guess, playing folly.
To be fair, I'd be fouling Vitek as well if that big bastard was up front at a corner. But yeah, he had everything you wanted from a 96th minute equaliser, didn't it? Because thumping header, goalkeeper up for the corner, Borough players hands on their heads after it's got in. Just, yeah, top class stuff all around. But the context of it makes it even more dramatic, Justin, because Middlesbrough will be absolutely kicking themselves for not winning this. They have completely dominated this game of football. Just to give everyone an idea of how much they dominated, in case you didn't see the game, Bristol City had their second shot of the game in the 87th minute. Yeah. And that is before you even get on to some of the horrendous chances Middlesbrough missed.
Yeah, I can pick apart so many because there was so many. Look, the reason why Borough haven't won this is because the attackers, what were they doing? I'm going to come up with the Radek Vitek double save because that's the most criminal one for me. Is the fact that Vitek pulls off 2 point blank saves. He pulls off one save, I think, it might be Riley McGree from a shot from distance, and then the ball falls to one of the forwards, and they just kick it straight at Vitek twice.
Alan Brown, it was.
Alan Brown just kicks it straight at Radek Vitek twice, and there's 3 Borough players on top of him at the end of it, and the ball still hasn't crossed the line. But actually, I think the worst one is David Strelic.
Oh,
where he's
100% flipping heck.
Honestly, again, he just kicks it straight at Vitek. What is going on?
That is as bad a miss as you can possibly produce while still having to beat the goalkeeper, isn't it?
Honestly, I don't want to say it's one of the misses of the season, but the fact that he didn't go either side of the keeper there is absolutely horrendous. And look, I don't want to criticise Borough too much. I'm not going to criticise Kim Hellberg at all, to be honest with you, because these players have got to stand up and go, we are not doing enough. We are not doing enough to get us into that top 2 to be challenging Coventry. Because in the final third, they got Michael Carrick the sack.
Yeah.
They got Michael Carrick the sack. And that's not going to happen with Hellberg, but they underperformed massively. And this was another example of it. And I feel for everyone associated with Borough apart from the forwards.
Yeah, well, when you Kim Hellberg, you can't do much more, can you, than put the strikers in those, put them in those positions, and they still messed it up. The Strelak one, it's the 81st minute when that happens as well. That kills the game. So yeah, an absolute shocker from him, especially from a striker who cost $6 million. But yeah, Alan Brown, he's got to hold his hands up there. He also missed the freest of 3 headers as well at some point in the game. Tommy Conway had a header early on. Luke Ayling had a good header as well. You get the gist of it. Middlesbrough can't really blame anyone but themselves for not winning here. And when you throw in the context that this is the 4th home game in a row that they failed to win against Oxford, Leicester, Charlton, and now an out-of-form Bristol City. If they don't get promoted, Justin, they have got no one to blame but themselves. And we've got a question here from Jaden, who's a Sunderland fan. He asks, do you think Borough are going to bottle it? They're so wasteful. What do we think?
That's such a good question because, to be honest, I don't think anyone's really convincing me at the minute that they want the second spot. I mean, it's Coventry's by default at the moment, at least automatic promotion. But the amount of chances that Borough are wasting is horrific. But I think the biggest point you've got to throw in is being ruthless. I mentioned it with Coventry, being ruthless in both boxes. And then for Borough, there's a massive fluctuation in that ruthlessness, whereby there are some games where they look unreal, where they are absolutely hammering the opposition. They take the chances. I mean, Matty Targett scored the other week. Yeah, they get in good positions, they take their chances, and then there are other weeks where they look completely hopeless, and that's not really reassuring. So I'm not going to throw the bottle comment out there. They have been in the top 2 for a large portion of the season, but if they do drop out, it's nothing to do with managerial changes this season, Kim Hellberg underperforming as manager. It is the forwards not doing their job in the final third.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's completely hypothetical, but if they won all of those home games, you know, I can reiterate the teams off the top of my head at this stage because it's funny how many times it's funny how many times I've mentioned it. But Oxford, Leicester, Charlton, now Bristol City, they would be above Coventry if they won all those games, and they should have been winning all of those games if they're wanting to get automatically promoted. But even just turning 2 of those games into wins would leave them in such a strong position ahead of Ipswich and Millwall. But instead, they're continuing to look over their shoulder. Now, it's not been a disastrous weekend for Borough because of Millwall and Cov both losing. I mean, if Millwall won, then Borough really would have been in the shit. So it could have been a lot worse. But at the same time, they've still got to play Ipswich and Millwall. So the stakes for Middlesbrough in those games are much higher now after these recent home results and at the end of the season. If a team misses out on promotion by 1 or 2 points, it's difficult not to look at certain games and think about where you slipped up. You think Sheffield United last season when they bottled it at Plymouth. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That's a prime example of that. If Middlesbrough don't go up, this run of 4 home games would definitely be that point for Middlesbrough. But I mean, this Bristol City game in particular would have to be the biggest offender of all in that regard, wouldn't it, Justin?
Yeah, it would. Look, it was. I can't remember which episode it was in midweek, but I was saying there are a couple of teams that you really want to play this weekend. It's QPR, Preston, and Bristol City because of the form that they're in. And Bristol City as well defensively have not been in great shape. This is why Borough found a fair few bits of space in behind him quite a lot of times. Like Stretch having a 1-on-1 as much time as he had was an indictment of the game. But for me, the biggest issue with Middlesbrough, and I mentioned the fluctuation of ruthlessness, is they seemingly just allow opposition a moment, and it's happened against Derby at Pride Park, Hull at the Riverside, where they have done something or done enough to get something from those games. They create a high volume of chances, they dominate the ball, but they just don't do enough at both ends, and that's really the maker of a team pushing for promotion. Is you've got to be absolutely. I can keep saying it. It's the key word with Borough is ruthless. Burnley are a great example of last season not scoring enough, but being absolutely horrific to create against. And like I said, it's not on Kim Hellberg. It's on the players. They've got to do better. Game management's got to be better. And this drop off in form, as you say, that's the key pointer to a team that might drop out of the top 2.
Yeah. Before we move on, Justin, we should give Bristol City some credit because even though they probably shouldn't have, they've managed to escape from the Riverside with a point.
Yeah, they came to spoil the party, and they did. They did. Kim Hellberg was there's a quote that made me laugh. He was very pissed off at the added time, citing that Bristol City caused it by time wasting earlier in the game, which is really funny.
Time
ironic.
wasting. Yeah,
it's.
I suppose all time wasting is tactical. Actually, carry on.
Yeah, it's really funny, but it's, as I say, it's incredible that Bristol City needed to sort of arrest the form that they're on, and a smash and grab draw is one way of doing it. You've got to get the fans back on side, and giving them an away day like they did again is absolutely massive in doing that. Can they get together a run of form and try and solidify themselves in the top half? That's really important, because what this Bristol City team has become again is very, very streaky, and once they do that, it's very hard for them to get out of it. We don't want last season to be an anomaly.
Yeah, well, it's got to be kept in mind that they still defended badly in this and managed to get a point. So whether a corner's been turned with them, I don't know. Radek Vitek was without a doubt the man of the match in the Bristol City goal. We've mentioned him already. And even though the chances that, were fired at him, he shouldn't have been saving, he still got in the way. And that's the main thing, isn't it? But, even more so because he only had to save it from... I'm thinking back to the Alan Brown one, but he had to save that, but then also stop the ambushing Middlesbrough players from pushing him over the line, which was a brilliant bit of goalkeeping. Yeah. But yeah, he's been a great goalkeeper all season, hasn't he? He's definitely been one of these standouts in the division. Didn't realise he's only 22 because he's built like a brick shithouse, isn't he? So I imagine he'll go on to be a top-level goalkeeper, but without a doubt, the standout player for Bristol City in this game. And considering their form recently and the levels of discontent amongst the fan base recently, this is a great result, even if the playoffs are almost certainly not going to happen at this stage. Let's have a look back how we did with our predictions in Friday's preview show, and how quickly things change. Just a couple of weeks ago, Justin and I both got full houses. We got every prediction correct in the preview show. This weekend, we've had an absolute stinker, because we both drew blanks. My banker was Middlesbrough to beat Bristol City. My outsider was Charlton to beat Oxford. Justin's banker was Millwall to beat Blackburn. His outsider was Hull to beat West Brom. So, yeah, not great, Justin.
Some game decisive decisions, or game-changing decisions is the way to phrase it in my games. That's what I'm going to throw it down to.
Okay. I mean, that's
couple of
one way of
contentious
looking
red
at it.
cards.
I can at least say that my 2 picks were draws. Both of yours lost. So, despite back-to-back weeks of me drawing blanks, I can at least say that. But the scores remain 39-26. I believe we've got 6 preview shows left, so I could mathematically win the season next weekend. So, we're nearly there.
Or you might not.
Or I might not.
Or I might
but it's
bring
going to
it
happen
back.
at some point, isn't it, ladies and gents? I've nearly etched my name in the history books. That's almost certain at this stage. But if you're enjoying tonight's show, ladies and gents, then now is the perfect time to sign up for the second tier YouTube membership community. Where for just £4.99 a month, you'll get custom emojis to use in these live streams and the comments section of every YouTube video. You'll also get access to the second tier Discord, where you can chat to us and loads of other championship fans. And in addition to that, you'll get an exclusive video from us every single week. Just hit the join icon right next to the subscribe button to sign up now. There was a big game at the top and bottom of the table, because a late double from Matthias Jorgensen saw Millwall lose 2-1 after being a goal up against Blackburn. 3-word review for Blackburn. Dave on our Patreon says, finally, some balls for Millwall. Lee says, absolutely fucking shite. Miles says, fucked by ref. Yeah, definitely didn't see this result coming, but it is a controversial one, as Miles was just alluding to there, because the big turning point in this game came in the 59th minute when Zach Sturge was sent off for Millwall for bringing down Yuki Ohashi, who was judged to be through on goal. Millwall were 1-0 up at the time. And, I mean, there's no other way to say it, Justin. It's simply not a red card in my eyes.
No, it's not. I don't know how the conclusion came to a red card. There's 3 recovering players for starters. The players are going away from the goal as well. So I really don't understand why the referee is gone for the red card. It's a foul and maybe a yellow card, but anything more than that, I think, is just pretty harsh. It's really, really bad. And I think the worrying thing for me, and there's probably going to be a wider debate on this in the next few weeks with the international break coming up, is there's been so many bad decisions of late.
Yeah.
So many that it's hard to defend referees at the moment.
Well, we said in Zamora time a few weeks ago how the standard of refereeing's been all right this season, and then since then, it's been terrible. There's been so many bad decisions. I think with this one, there's 2 questions, isn't there? Firstly, how much contact is there? You say it's definitely a foul. It's inconclusive, I think, how much contact there actually is. In the Championship, we only get a limited number of camera angles, don't we? And I cannot say with any certainty that there is any contact here. But then the other question is it a clear goal-scoring opportunity? And whether it's a foul or not, we could talk about that till the cows come home, but you cannot say that is a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Jake Cooper is a good couple of yards deeper than where the foul takes place. There's also another Millwall player charging back on the other side. But as you were saying, Ohashi's taking the ball towards the corner flag. Mm-hmm. If that passage of play had played out, he may have had a shot, but it would have been from a narrow angle, definitely not a golden opportunity. And another thing is the referee waves play on, seemingly initially. So, yeah, I can understand how the referee has looked at that and thought it was a straight red. It's a bad decision, and Millwall have every right to feel aggrieved. There was also a penalty shout turned down for a foul on Femi Aziz, which also looked a dubious one. Did you have a take on that, Justin?
It was a foul. I can't work out the angle whether it was outside or inside the box. But again, we're talking about officials doing the right thing. And I think that, well, to be fair, the thing that doesn't help Aziz is he gets straight back up, doesn't he? He gets straight back up and he plays on. So maybe there's a bit of extra there, but yeah, I think that was definitely a foul. It's just whether or not it was inside the box or not.
I think it was outside the box, in fairness to the referee on that one. I know a lot of Millwall fans have complained about it, but I think he's actually right there. But yeah, I think he didn't also help himself by Aziz getting back up and playing on afterwards, which just made the whole thing even more confusing. But despite facing 10 men, Blackburn still had a big job to do to overturn that lead at the Den, Justin. And so getting the 3 points here, got to say, absolutely massive for them, and potentially massive in the entire season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive, and obviously it's 3 points for Blackburn, but it's 3 points where you wouldn't have expected it. Even when you're looking at the games and the form coming into this, you probably would have accepted the fact that maybe you can come away with a draw. That would be brilliant. But to come away with 3 is an extra bonus. So Blackburn has really done themselves a favour with this, and And whilst it's a hard game to sort of analyse, because for me, I feel like if Millwall had 11, it might be a different outcome. But the way Blackburn again kept pushing and pushing and pushing, which we've seen already under Michael O'Neill, that they can keep going until the end. It's rare, but they've shown signs of it. It's a really, really positive trait to have, and the fact that they've done it with quite a significant injury crisis as well. Hayden Carter went off in this game again. It's a really, really, really good position to be in, and hopefully they need to build on it. That's the thing with Blackburn; they've really not built on things, really not built on the positive wins that they've been getting, and that's really why they've not been able to pull away yet.
Got a comment here from Dave who says, up the Rovers, the Morishita assist was chef's kiss, although not as beautiful as the finish. Yeah, I believe Matthias Jorgensen scored every goal away from home so far, so doesn't like Ewood Park for whatever reason, but away from there he turns into flipping ballet. But yeah, we've got to keep in mind it was looking increasingly bleak for Blackburn, wasn't it, heading into this? The teams below them were picking up while the honeymoon period under Michael O'Neill had definitely gone away. So for them to go to Millwall, who have been in excellent form and become just the third team to win at the Den since the start of October, is bloody good going. And yes, they did have a lot of help from the referee, but prior to that red card, they weren't terrible. You could actually say Blackburn were the better side in the first half. Millwall didn't manage a single shot, bizarrely. Blackburn just struggled to convert possession into chances, which is Blackburn in a nutshell, really, isn't it? But the fight back after the red card was brilliant. It was the first time Blackburn had come from behind to win away from home since October 2023. Bizarrely, the last 3 times it's happened have also been at Millwall, so a bit of a strange hoodoo they've got there. But what this could mean in terms of Blackburn and the grand scheme of their survival is huge, isn't it, Justin?
It is, and when you consider who's won this weekend, with West Brom picking up points, Oxford picking up points, Leicester losing, this was a really, really important weekend for Blackburn. And as I said, like, the fact that they've been able to come away from the Den with 3 points is a massive, massive bonus, because you'll look at the games you've got left and go, right, we can maybe get a draw there. We can maybe pick up 3 points there. But I'd have thought the Den would have been one of those fixtures where you go, that's going to be really hard, especially with the form that Millwall are in. So it's a massive, massive thing for Blackburn. But like I said, they've got to build on it. And I mentioned the fact that they've got an injury crisis. They are threadbare, but this is the time to stand up now. And like I said, the fight back after Millwall going down to 10, it's nice to see the hunger and drive to see an opportunity and keep going, and especially getting the goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. It's character, and that's not something we've seen of Blackburn of late. And that's, you've got to build on it. Absolutely have to build on it.
But they would have dropped into the bottom 3 if they lost this. So it's big because it's avoided that, but it's also big because Blackburn just needed any sort of positivity that they could get their hands on, and this could do a huge amount in terms of morale. So a big win for them. They've got some tricky remaining games, including Middlesbrough next weekend. But look, if you can win away at Millwall, you win just about anywhere at this level. So we'll see how they get on. By the way, just flagging this up early on, final day of the season, Blackburn v Leicester. Increasingly looking like a gigantic game at the bottom. A Premier League winner could get relegated on the final day in that game. But yeah, we'll talk more about the relegation battle and the other teams down there in a sec. But what a disappointing result for Millwall. They would have moved into the top 2 if they held onto the win here. So while they obviously have the right to feel aggrieved, it's a massive missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think I will stand by it. I think if this is 11v11, Millwall will probably see it out. I don't think Millwall are one of those teams where they don't have to be at the best to win a game. They did it in midweek against Derby, where I know Derby had a late flurry of chances, but they weren't at the best for the full 90, and they come away with a 1-0 win and a clean sheet. So it's an if, but maybe. And with Blackburn scoring in the last 10 minutes, is there tired legs at play here potentially? And that's going to impact things when you're playing with 10 men. But I think with Millwall, with the format that they've been in, you can probably forgive them for dropping off a little bit. It's just rare to see them lose. So it's almost like, well, what do we do now with them? But I think this was just one game too many in a busy week for them.
Maybe. I think we have a tendency to not criticise Millwall as much as we should, because I guess they're the underdogs in terms of promotion. Plus, we both subtly want Millwall to go up because that'd be quite funny. And while, yes, the red card has cost them, they weren't great here. the first half in particular, as I say, was really poor. They didn't have a single shot. So they were better in the second half after Alex Neil made a couple of changes up until the red card. But this was, on a whole, probably one of their poor performances of the season. Because they've been setting a pretty high bar for themselves. I've got a comment here from Chewy Louis and Mark Suffolk, who both make the point that refs have cost Millwall 4 points in the last few weeks, which, yeah, fine, but I don't think that excuses how Millwall are actually quite poor here. Alex Neil had an interesting quote afterwards where he insinuated that the results earlier in the day may have had an impact because obviously Borough drew, Coventry lost. He said it piled the pressure on. Don't know if you got a take on that, Justin?
I've got two takes on it. First, I'm going to gaslight Alex Neil and think I'm going to say you're overthinking it, mate. I think you are overthinking it. Secondly, do your players want to hear that? I don't like. Do your players want to hear your manager say pressure got to you because your promotion rivals picked up points or dropped points or whatever? I don't think I would want to hear that. I'd want my manager to be probably just criticising us for not being good enough and not. It's almost a get out, if you like. But it's the wrong get out. I think Alex Neil could have chosen his words better.
Maybe. The only thing I would say is the pressure's only going to get worse from here, so they definitely need to figure that out before the end of the business end of the season and potentially the playoffs for Millwall as well. Well, the big winners of the weekend, as far as the promotion race is concerned, were undoubtedly Ipswich Town, although they were cashing in their Sheffield Wednesday voucher 2-0. It finished in that game. 3 reviews for Ipswich. Gary says, a perfect weekend. Jason says, football gods aligning. Mauricio on our Patreon says, up yours, Peachy.
But what do I do?
I don't actually know because you didn't predict them to lose in that game, but there you go. Taking us straight there. For Wednesday, Dill says weather was nice. This wasn't as straightforward as you might have thought, though, for Ipswich, Justin, because it took them a long time to find the breakthrough, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't really know how to break this game down because the way I'm measuring every opposition against Sheffield Wednesday is you should be beating them and you should be beating them comfortably, but I don't think this was a comfortable game. I checked the stats after about an hour in this, and Ipswich had only created, no, it's only XG, but created 0.7 XG, and I'm just like, lads, like, what's going on here? But I think, to be fair to Sheffield Wednesday, they did match Ipswich to a point, but I think I come away from this game and I go, if that's what you're offering here, Ipswich, I'm pretty disappointed. But at the same time, they've won 2-0, they've got a clean sheet, and they've had a good weekend in terms of results around them as well. So can I really criticise them too much? Probably not.
Yeah, it's always difficult assessing a team beating Sheffield Wednesday and their current guys, isn't it? If Ipswich were facing a better side, they may not have won this, but that's entirely hypothetical.
There's beating Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it? And then there's beating Sheffield Wednesday, and they didn't beat Sheffield Wednesday.
There's given them a good old spanking, and this was not that at all. They got the job done, didn't they? That's the bottom line. And as far as the promotion race is concerned, Ipswich were the only side in the top 5 to win. It sees them move back up to third, 2 points behind Middlesbrough in second, level on points with Millwall, 9 points behind Coventry. But Ipswich do have a game in hand. And I mean, this weekend sums up this season in a nutshell, doesn't it? Ipswich the only side in the top 5 to win. The twists and turns are just crazy, aren't they, Justin? How is it possible for us to have a consistent narrative about any of these teams when everything changes in just a matter of days? It's mental.
Yeah, why can't we have something like last season where Leeds and Burnley were tied up with like 3 weeks to go and we had our feet up, Ryan. We had our feet up. We were chilled. We were relaxed. But we've actually got to work hard trying to discuss and come up with narratives. Well, firstly, Ryan, it's the championship for you. It's the ever-changing nature of this league. But I'll be honest with you, and I think I alluded to it earlier in the episode, I cannot tell you who's in the driving seat for top 2 other than Coventry. They've been the most convincing team so far.
It's the Grand Theft Auto metaphor that we were using before, isn't it? Yeah. Coventry are sat in the driving seat. They're outside someone's house right now, and they're waiting to see who comes out first.
Yeah, but who's in the passenger seat?
No one.
Exactly. They've
fallen out on the motorway like George Michael did again.
George Michael, exactly. 4 of them, or 3 of them, all out on the motorway. It's frustrating, but no, seriously, they all Millwall, Ipswich, Borough, they've got a pretty big rick in them. They really have, and that's interesting. You alluded to it earlier about Southampton and maybe if they had Eckert longer. I think if Tonder Eckert and Philippe Clement are in charge of Southampton and Norwich from the start of the season, I think the top twos are much easier to call. I think those two teams have shown a lot more convincing, or have convinced me a lot more than the teams actually pushing for promotion under their new managers, which is quite staggering because they've not had a pre-season, they've barely had a transfer window. I just think the teams that are up there now should be doing a lot better.
Got a comment here from Ben Ellis who says Ipswich 4 wins in their last 6. 2 draws could have easily been 6 wins in a row if penalty decisions at the death went their way. And all this while playing way below par. Ominous stuff for Borough and Millwall, I feel, which is definitely one way of looking at it.
Point, yeah.
What I would say is, let's be completely frank, Middlesbrough should have killed this promotion race. They should be dropping points at home to, I'm going to say those teams again, Justin, Oxford, Leicester, Charlton, and now Bristol City. Win just 2 of those games, and them and Coventry are clear at the top, and it would be hard to see those 2 not going up from there. But no, they've given Ipswich and Millwall all the hope they can get. And while it's great, because as you were saying, we've got a promotion race, which looks like it could go down to the wire. It's great entertainment. All 3 of Borough, Ipswich and Millwall still have to play each other as well, so great entertainment there too. I do often think to myself about the standard of this promotion race. Is it that good? Yeah. Because none of these teams have gone longer than 8 games unbeaten. Coventry have. It's the 3 teams I was just talking about there. They haven't gone longer than 8 games unbeaten. Whoever goes up is probably going to get promoted with the lowest points tally we've seen in quite some time. I had a look earlier at this, Justin. The lowest points tally for an automatically promoted side in the last 12 championship seasons is 83. Can you guess who that was?
I want to say it was Cardiff.
No, it was West Brom in 2020. The second lowest points tally in the last 12 seasons is 88. And when you keep in mind Middlesbrough on 70 points with 8 games to go, whoever goes up should get more than 83, but I doubt they'll get to 88. So it would suggest to me whoever goes up has a lot of work to do if they're going to stay up next season. But it's an exciting race we've got. At this stage, I don't know who the hell is actually going to go up alongside Coventry, but it unsurprisingly looks like Coventry are going to be in that driver's seat. It just depends who wants to get in the car with them. Let's get on to the relegation battle then, Justin. And West Brom have got their first league win of 2026, and they did it in some style, beating promotion hopefuls Hull 3-0. 3 reviews for West Brom. Diane says, won again. Suraj says, what's this feeling? Gemma says, hope lives again for Hull. Miles says, charity case Tigers. Harvey says, playoff bottling Tigers. We all know things have been bad at West Brom, but first league win of 2026 is insane, isn't it? So the relief at the final whistle would have been massive, Justin.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out. They've just gone 2.5 months without a win. That it's inconceivable.
We're in March, mate.
Yeah, that's...
3.5
it's about
months.
10 weeks since the turn of the year.
Okay, actually, I see your point there. Yeah, 2.5 months.
Pipe down.
Fair enough.
Pipe down. But yeah, what a feeling. What a feeling. This was a really good performance, a brilliant performance. And I would argue it's West Brom's best performance of the season, which is incredible because they're on their 3rd manager and we are, as you said, in March. It's staggering, really. But I thought, like I said, this was a team that I've not seen before from a West Brom point of view. Even before the goal, I saw a team driving forwards. There was overlapping runs. They were causing overloads. They were getting balls into the box. The first goal came from a really nice breakaway. So all the way through the game, West Brom were full of energy. They were hungry. They had so much desire. Even the red card for Hull, that came from West Brom causing them problems and pushing them into the corner. They did it all game, and it was a deserved win and a great win and a really nice thing to see from a Baggies point of view because it's depressing. It's been sad.
Yeah, you could say that again. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was fully deserved because from start to finish, they were magnificent. We were helped an awful lot by the red card, as you say, Hull being down to 10 men for nearly an hour after Charlie Hughes was sent off in the 36th minute for a last-man foul on Jed Wallace. I did initially think it was a bit harsh because it's out wide where the foul happens. isn't it? But at the same time, there isn't another Hull player anywhere near Hughes. So
I want to throw in the fact that the ball is so loose that Pandor is closer to it. That's why I don't know where I sit with it. So I still think it's harsh. I think it's a daft foul to give away, but I don't think Jed Wallace is getting anywhere near that loose ball.
Yeah, I can see your point there as well. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, but whatever the case, West Brom were fantastic. Without a doubt, the best performance we've seen in a long time. Everyone in a blue and white shirt was sublime. Danny Imre in particular, young right back on loan from Crystal Palace, who was at Blackpool earlier in the season, hasn't had much of a look in so far, but he's been getting rave reviews for his performance here, so he could finally be the answer to West Brom's right back problem they've had all season. But look, we saw signs of improvement from West Brom in their last couple of games, drawing with Sheffield United and Southampton. They weren't leading, of course, up until the 90th minute against Southampton, which looks an even better result for West Brom after this weekend's games. But the signs have been there that James Morrison is making this team better. And now you got to say the results are reflecting that, PG.
Yeah, I mean, first thing you've got to instill is desire and fight and character. And we saw it against Sheffield United, them doing that, coming from behind to get the draw off the back of a really, really bad performance against Oxford. Midweek was a bit of a flattening one because they were on to look for a while, and then Southampton equalised in the last minute, but they could have let that really, really, I won't say harm them coming into this one, but you wouldn't have been surprised if they were feeling sorry for themselves, but they didn't. They came out here. They felt like they had a lot of aggression and anger, and they just put it out onto the pitch. They just, yeah, they were brilliant from start to finish, pushing, closing down, everything you want in a team that's got to react from a bad display, not bad display, a bad moment against Southampton. And under Ramsey, they were passive, flat. They wanted opposition to have the ball here. Started to feel a little bit different, and that's really, really important. It was positive. Everything about this performance was positive. So, yeah, it's a really nice thing. They just got to keep it going, and if they do, I think they'll finish comfortably outside the relegation battle, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, James Morrison revealed that he took his players for a spa day on Thursday. So there you go.
Did he mention treatments?
No, they didn't say anything about that, so I haven't got any inside intel there. But he did say that he was worried now that they want to have a spa day every week, which would get a bit boring after a while.
Well, there's only. I mean, they have a masseuse, don't they? So I reckon they had treatments. It's just what treatments they had, because they've got pools and stuff at the ground. So I reckon they've gone full on like a facial, or like a lymphatic drainage.
Oh, I don't know about that. I always find. Do you go to the spa often?
No. I've not been since 2018.
It's all right, but it's just a bit repetitive after a while because I just do the same thing: sauna, steam room, tropical shower, sleep. Because you get so relaxed that I just have naps every hour or so. So it's not the most exciting thing ever. But one thing actually that they never tell you about the spa is that the food is always top class. Whichever spa you go to, the food. I didn't know this was a thing, but the food is sensational, whichever spa you go to. I went to one a couple of years ago, which genuinely might be the best meal I've ever had in my entire life. Ridiculous. What we're talking about? Oh, yeah, West Brom. Yeah, James Morrison. Yeah, he's doing a great job, isn't he? Considering he was heading into this with the least experience out of 3 inexperienced managers this season, we understandably had our scepticism, didn't we? But he's done very well so far, especially when you consider he's had a few injuries to deal with as well. But defensively, yeah, they've been really tight. Going forward, it's been a hell of a lot better. Could have been much worse. But I think having a natural right back playing at right back has helped with that. Jed Wallace, in fairness to him, we had our concerns that he was past his best, but he's actually played pretty well in these last couple of games. Classic 4-4-2 is definitely doing the business for old James Morrow, and if West Brom continues to get better at the rate they're going at, then they can definitely stay up. And yeah, I don't disagree with you, Justin. If this is a head of steam building up here, then they may even not be in any danger in the last few games of the season. We'll see how they get on over the forthcoming games. Leicester have now lost 5 of their last 6 home games after a 3-1 defeat to QPR. 3 reviews for QPR. Jeremy says, Total, utter relief. John says, safe from relegation. Flying our patron says, Leicester going down. For Leicester, Jeb says, League One time. Yeah, it started all right for Leicester in this game. They went a goal ahead after 15 minutes through Jordan James, but then they conceded either side of half-time, letting a third not long afterwards, and it was game over for Gary Rowett's boys from that point.
I feel like they've undone so much good work as well with this performance, because the Bristol City game felt like the confidence came back. And then the first 15 minutes of this, obviously they get the goal with Jordan James. Really nice finish, by the way. Proper finesse shot into the corner. It's beautiful. But then you're thinking, right, cruise with confidence now. And then implosion, that goal just before half-time was horrific, absolutely horrific. I mean, firstly, Leicester gave QPR all 3 goals. It's not to say QPR weren't the better side, because they were, and they deserved the win. But what in the Sunday League was the defending for that first goal?
It's Ben Nelson, isn't it? Ben Nelson. He's had an absolute stinker in this game in general, because, as you say, he was caught napping for that goal. But then the second is such a calamitous own goal, because there isn't even a QPR player near him, is there?
No, there isn't. The one thing I want to point out is I don't know whether Stolicic is giving him a shout or not for both goals, to be honest with you, because Stolicic had jumped out for the own goal that he scored. But Ben Nelson's, as you say, he's had a stinker, but I think both were at fault for both goals, to be honest with you. I think it was an absolute calamitous to put.
I'm not sure what Stolicic could have done for the second one, because Nelson has just gone rogue there, hasn't he?
Well, I don't. Neither of them covered themselves in glory, if I'm being honest. And yeah, as you say, Ben Nelson's had an absolute stinker. He got a lot of praise in midweek as well from Rowett. And look, mistakes happen, and the reaction to the goals from the entire team was poor. So it's hard to really dig out Ben Nelson here, but he has had a bad couple of moments. But the entire team was bad overall, to be honest with you. The response was bad.
We haven't even mentioned the third goal, where Ronnie Edwards somehow had a free header in the 6-yard box. And even though QPR scored their third goal with more than half an hour to go, you wouldn't have guessed it from the lack of, going forward energy that Leicester had, because they did nothing really. It was bad from Leicester. Boos from the Leicester fans at full time, QPR fans singing, "We're going to Tottenham, you're going to Crewe," and one Leicester fan in particular absolutely losing his mind at Jordan Ayew after the game. Do you want to listen to that, Justin?
Oh yes, please.
The voice break is top class, isn't it? It's really good stuff. But as funny as that is, it shows it doesn't take much for the atmosphere to turn once again at Leicester, does it? And with West Brom and Blackburn both winning, it's been a bad weekend for Leicester, hasn't it?
Yeah, really bad. Like I said, I feel like this defeat has undone a lot of good work, because it felt like there's a lot of just battling, throwing yourselves into shots and doing everything, but they threw this game away entirely. And we talk about it being a bad weekend. I think psychologically it's a bad one as well, because even after the game there was a small protest that started to go on outside the ground, and I think it's just a response to a really bad performance. But look, we're back to square one with Leicester after that, because we're all saying they just didn't feel like the effort was there. And that's the only thing you can measure this Leicester team against, because they've got all the talent in the world, but the effort levels are minimal. The response, the ability to feel sorry for themselves is very, very high. And that's, frankly, for a club that have the wage budget that they do, and will keep using that, it's frankly quite pathetic.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, Oxford are just minutes away from winning as well, so it could have been a disastrous weekend for Leicester. This isn't far off disastrous. And I think you hit the nail bang on the head there when you said back to square one with Leicester, because Rowett had them better defensively, but this was like the Leicester of old. However, a big concern for me is still how poor they look going forwards, because Rowett has struggled to improve that. And they created next to nothing against QPR. The goal, as you were alluding to earlier, a beautiful goal by Jordan James from distance. And then, despite having half an hour to fight back against a 2-goal lead, they offered absolutely nothing. And as soon as Leicester had one setback, they completely capitulated like they have done on many occasions this season. So after getting a bit of encouragement from Leicester in their last few games, it's back to being concerned again. Rowett said afterwards, I need to start looking at players I can trust to do it week in, week out, not once or twice. So he's clearly concerned as well, Justin.
I feel like that's Guy Rowett pulling the what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not panic stations.
Chain?
No, it's like I was going to say like pistol, but I don't think it is.
The emergency chain that you have in disabled toilets.
Yeah, he's pulled that. Well, no, because I feel like it's probably more drastic than that. Whereas people will come in and help you, but no one's going to help Gary Rowett in this situation or Leicester apart from themselves. Yeah. What he's trying to do. He's calling these players out, and I suspect that he probably wanted to call them out a bit sooner, because the way they conceded these goals was and responded was bad. He wants players who want it. He hasn't got that. This is why I said time and time again, this is his hardest task. This is harder than the Oxford one, because you've got players there who are going to respond to, you're fighting for your futures, whereas these players probably think they can go on and get better things after Leicester. So, crux of it is, these players have got 3 managers sacked. They might be down another league by the end of it. The penny's never going to drop, so the manager's got to start saying, I don't trust you. And he's trying that, and we'll see how they respond.
Well, that comment that he's made there sounds like he's talking about Abdul Fataru, doesn't it? Because one minute he looks like the best player in the division, the next minute you forget he's even there. And he's had an awful lot of games in the past few months where you forget he's even there. So, I mean, Leicester being relegated and having Abdul Fataru not even starting games would be mad, wouldn't it? But that seems to be where we're at this stage. So we'll see. A big few weeks coming up for Leicester City. They're second from bottom, 2 points from safety. The other team in the bottom 3 along with them and Sheffield Wednesday is Oxford United, who were denied a 4th win in a row by a 93rd minute penalty from Charlie Kelman. 1-1 it finished with Charlton. 3-word review for Charlton. Harry on our Patreon says, shithousing to safety. I've seen a few Oxford fans say the referees robbed them here, Justin, but I don't think they can really argue with that penalty at all, can they? Kieran Brown is nearly ripping the shirt off the Charlton player.
I saw it and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think he needed to do it either, because Lloyd Jones, the Charlton defender that he's pulled, isn't going to get the jump on Jamie Cumming, who's come out to gather it. And it's really annoying, because I was really laying on the praise for Kieran Brown midweek as well, and he just pulls off that absolute stinker. It was a bad decision from him, and he's cost his team there, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's needless, because I think Oxford would have dealt with it otherwise. So a bit of a mad decision from him, and another Oxford win would have been humongous in their fight to stay up. And with Blackburn and West Brom winning, it does mean this hasn't been a great weekend for Oxford, but unbeaten in 4 now. Got Southampton away next, which isn't ideal, but they can definitely take confidence from their recent results. A bit of good news for Oxford is that they finally got a penalty themselves. This was the first time they've been awarded a penalty in 675 days. Their last one was in the League One playoffs. So to nearly go 2 entire years without a penalty, that's insane, Justin. And the Oxford fans were celebrating it like mad.
Not surprised. There are a few teams that have this weird penalty anomaly. Bristol City are another one. I think there's a mad stat that they went a good couple of years without a penalty. Stoke got their first this season in midweek against Ipswich. So, yeah, it's really, really strange.
Nothing on 2 years, though, mate, is it? Do you want to know what was happening the last time Oxford had a penalty?
They're in the playoffs.
Well, there was that. Rishi Sunak was still the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Joe Biden was still US President. Didn't know how good we had it, did we? Mauricio Pochettino was the Chelsea manager. Vincent Kompany was the Burnley manager. Luton Town were a Premier League side. Wrexham had just been promoted from League 2. Tottenham were 5th in the Prem.
And you had a hairline.
And, well, let's not get carried away now. But it just goes to show how much things can change, doesn't it? One thing that doesn't change is Oxford's last penalty was scored by Cameron Brannigan. This one was as well. He only had to wait 675 days between the 2 penalties. But Oxford and all the other teams we've just mentioned in the past 15, 20 minutes will be keeping a close eye on the game tomorrow night. It's Portsmouth v Derby. at Fratton Park. We'll be reacting straight off the back of that game live on the Second Tier YouTube channel. So make sure you join us then for that tomorrow night. Let's go to the polls. This is where we give the YouTube viewers 3 questions on social media, or YouTube in this case, to get their thoughts on everything going on from the Championship. The first question we asked is this: who's going up automatically alongside Coventry? Ipswich, Middlesbrough, Millwall, go.
Fuck knows.
That's not an option, unfortunately. 62% of people said Ipswich, 30% said Middlesbrough, 6% said Millwall. Number 2, has the promotion race gone according to your pre-season's predictions?
Well, we
don't need an answer on that, Justin. It's out there in the public record. And 74% of people said no. And finally, who's getting relegated out of these teams? Leicester City, West Brom, Portsmouth, Oxford.
Leicester.
I feel like Blackburn have done very well. Producer Chaz to not get involved in that particular poll, but nonetheless, 67% of people said Leicester, 13% said West Brom, Portsmouth got 10%, Oxford got 10%. Producer Charlie's let me know he's limited to 4 responses. You can explain that on your P45, mate. But there we go, ladies and gents. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. If you're a Patreon subscriber or a YouTube community member, don't go anywhere. We've got the extended edition of the weekend show coming up, which we like to call Zamora Time. We'll be talking about Wrexham and what we thought of the commentary from Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack on Friday night in their victory over Swansea. Yeah, not one to be missed, this episode of Zamora Time. But if you're not signed up yet, audio listeners can head over to patreon.com/second tier. Link is in the description of this episode. And for YouTube viewers, just hit the join icon right next to the subscribe button on our channel page. We'll be going live in a separate stream in just a few minutes. So stick around and join in with the conversation over there. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. We're back again tomorrow night with our reaction to Portsmouth v Derby. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.